Well, welcome everybody to another episode of the Iowa Gravel Series Podium Podcast. My name's Chris McQueen. I'm your host. And today we have a fantastic guest, Camden Jackson. He's been on the Gravel Series and signed up for the entire series at least 2 years in a row. But this is his first time. The 2024 Albia Holy Cow race is when he got a podium, and well-deserved. He's been always or consistently in the top lead groups, strong rider. We've had some fun at RAGBRAI. He has lots of experience at Unbound. He's part of the Ames Velo club. We have lots to talk about, so this should be a lot of fun. Camden, so good to have you on the podcast.
Hey, I am excited to be here.
So Camden, let's start off getting to know you a little bit. How did you get into cycling? What's your origin story for riding your bike fast down roads?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this with my parents after Albia. I did my first mountain bike race 15 years ago when I was 10 years old. Raced mountain bikes all through high school. Started dabbling in road in college. Then kind of pivoted to gravel once I graduated. Started getting out more and seeing that there was a lot more gravel roads. But I've been riding for pretty much my entire life. Been racing most of my life too, so it's kind of cool to stick with it and have a lifetime hobby.
Yeah, that's true. And cycling is, can very well be one of those lifetime hobbies. So did you grow up here and go to school here in Iowa?
No, I'm originally from O'Connell Falls, Wisconsin, which is a small town north of Green Bay. And I moved to Iowa to go to Iowa State and found a full-time job in Des Moines and have stuck around ever since.
Oh, sweet. Why Iowa State?
Well, I wanted to be an engineer. And I'd heard that Iowa State had a great engineering program. The price was right for even an out-of-state student. And kind of like from that first moment pulling up to campus, it was like, this is the place that I want to go to school.
Very cool. And did you succeed? Are you an engineer?
Yes, I've been working full-time as an engineer for 2 years now.
Nice. It's always good to accomplish goals. That's good. Cool. Well, you have been on the gravel series for quite a while, actually. So, I mean, I believe last year was the first year that you had signed up, and you signed up for the whole series.
Yep, that's correct.
So why would you do a crazy thing like that?
I guess like when I started racing mountain bike, it was a series. It was, 10, 12 races in the summer, one every 2 weeks, which is kind of a lot, makes for a busy summer. I kind of like having a series of races. I like having a calendar of events. And the Iowa Gravel Series like packages that up in a really nice way that makes it super accessible. And there's enough familiar faces race to race that you can really like get familiar with the people that you compete with, which I really, really enjoy.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. I guess at this point, given that it's your second year and we're about a little bit more than halfway through the series, we only have 2 more races left and only really one race that you'll probably participate in, the Fairfield Harvest Rush. Do you have a course that is your favorite so far?
I mean, I love the walk-on course. I think it adds such like a cool element, but I think all of them have things that I really love and enjoy. And I like the unique challenges that every course seems to bring. The last one in the Los Hills, I was not prepared for that last climb. It was kind of a surprise that this is a flat state and we still had to fight that hard to go uphill.
But this is the second year that you've done the Soldier Cutoff Hill Duro, right? I mean, you did it last year. Did you miss that one last year?
I missed the last 2 races last year. I broke my collarbone in August in the week leading up to Hill Duro.
Wow. We'll come back to the break then. So yeah, Pisgah is a little bit crazy in terms of its climbing and stuff, but I wasn't able to be there. This was the first race in, gosh, I think it's like 20 races that I wasn't at a race. And so the Omaha Velo team really took over and helped put on that race. So for me at least, tell me a little bit about how the Soldier Cutoff Hill Duro, how it went.
I thought it went pretty well. It was a pretty normal Iowa gravel race. I like to camp out the night before so I can get up early and just relax and focus on race day. It was a bit chillier than I would have expected for an August race. I had to get the long sleeves out, like kind of a cold night camping out, but that's just part of the experience. And the race was great. Like everything went super well. Just a nice, fun start, big bunch group to get going. And like every other gravel race, you start to splinter out and find your packs and who you compete well with and try and find your spot to get to where you want to be at the finish line.
And you mentioned the last hill, which I'm guessing you mean 138th and Fulton. You saw the elevation map on it, right? I mean, you saw that there was something coming, right?
Yeah, I saw the elevation map. I knew it was going to be there. I think coming up to it, I knew about what mile marker it started at. I could see fourth and third kind of at the top of the hill. I was like, oh, they're right there. That's not even that far to go. And I started going up the hill and I was like all the way at the end of my gears and I was on the pedals just mashing as hard as I could to try and carry myself up. And I was like, oh, this is much more of a hill than I even anticipated at this point. And it just seemed to keep going, which was the scary part. Is you turned a corner, thought it was over, not quite. I got up into a flat spot, a little bit more to go. It went a lot longer than I expected.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an adventure. It's one of my favorites. I agree. I love walk on, but going out to the Hill Duro and Pisgah is one of my favorites to go and scout and make sure that it's working well. Well, let's bring it back to Albia this year. So kind of, I don't know how much you can remember from that race and everything. Hopefully it was memorable since you got on the podium, but like what kind of opened that race up for you to get on the podium? Did anything kind of happen or click differently, or was it just a great day? What happened?
I think a big part of it was just a really great day. I kind of knew that it was a smaller field size than a normal gravel race. So I kind of planned it out with my coach to be like, hey, let's put a little more effort into being fresh for this one. And like most of the race, it was like a 15-person group kind of stuck together. We just hung out, worked together, which saved a ton of energy in the long run, being able to have a group of people to kind of take a draft from or pull from the front versus having to do all the work by yourself. And really what it kind of came down to is there was one small climb towards the end. And I kind of felt the pace of the group drop off a little bit. It's about 7 miles ago. I was like, all right, well, I feel fresh enough to put down an attack now and see if I can get it to stick. So I took off up the hill to try and drop the group, which put me in a good spot for second, third. Came down to it. It was like just enough to kind of put me in the third place position, which just happened to work out. One of those days where you make the right move at the right time and get away with it.
Yeah, and I think from what I've heard, it was Chris, and I forget Chris's last name off the top of my head. Anyway, I'll look it up in a second and have it fully there. But yeah, Chris Neely. From what I heard, Chris Neely was kind of eager to attack a lot earlier, but it seemed like the group was a little hesitant to go off on an early attack until then. So, I mean, in a lot of ways, you kind of, it sounds like you opened up a possibility, and that's when Chris followed you.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's one of like the big things I love about racing is you have to like kind of gamble on your own, like yourself all the time. It's pretty easy to go take off and put down a huge effort and you can leave the pack in the dust for 20 miles, but you still have 40 miles you need to race. So I wasn't really sure what like the rest of the group was feeling, if people could like keep up, if people could put down an effort, trying to like weigh the pros and cons of taking off at different times. And kind of when it came down to it and I was close to the finish line, I was like, well, there's only 7 miles left. You can take off and go, see who comes with you and figure it out from there. Or you can just kind of sit in the pack and turn into a big bunch sprint. And I'm not much of a sprinter. So I made my choice to go when I felt like it was time to get moving.
Yeah, and it definitely paid off. I mean, well, Mason Wilson, who took first that day, I think he went off the front way early and just
Like
stuck it
five
out. I
minutes,
mean,
and he took off.
yeah, it was a good 2 minute gap up until the end. So, again, that worked out for him. Well, cool. So I mean, you didn't say Albia was one of your favorites, and I know you've done that one a couple times. So, well, I think what is unique about Albia? Did it help that you had done the course, or was this one different enough that maybe it wasn't that much of a help having had some experience on the terrain?
I mean, like anytime you can get more miles in like a specific loop or a route, it always helps a little bit. But I think in the gravel race, they're so long, it's hard to like really focus on any one bit of the course. Uh, I know for me, like I don't really do so hot in like consistent rollers, which Albia tends to roll a lot. So having a pack and being able to kind of hang with them versus having to always feel like I have to sprint and attack every punchy hill was super helpful this year. And definitely remember last year, like feeling the burn pretty early from having to be so aggressive so early on just short, quick climbs. This year, being able to just kind of focus and like sitting in a more comfortable band through that really helped this past year at Albia.
Yeah. So speaking of kind of like sitting in or strategy, let's talk a little bit about nutrition on the bike and everything. Do you have what's your go-to for a 100K gravel race in terms of your feeding strategy, and what do you like to fuel yourself with?
So I like swear by the Cliff Blocks. If like for me, I know like two sleeves an hour is approximately 100 grams of carbs, which in an event like 100K gravel race, that's about like the most that I can eat to stay fresh and not like run out of fuel. So I am a huge fan of those. I really like the salted watermelon or the new sour apple. If you haven't tried the sour apple, I love them. They are delicious. And they're just like enough of a flavor to kind of like wake you up when you're feeling a bit tired.
Oh, I haven't tried the sour apple. I was always a big fan because these are the shock blocks, or
Yeah,
are
they come
these
in like a little sleeve, and there's like six of them in there. Just
yeah, I've always done black cherry. That's always been kind of my go-to because I think they also have a little bit of caffeine. Do you do caffeine or not?
uh, I'll have like an SIS double espresso, like 10 minutes out from the start, and then I'll drink like the Scratch Labs hydration mix that has caffeine in it during the race. But I try not to take too much because it like makes me jittery, and I start like
No.
thinking too much. So it helps. Yeah, it helps kind of just like have like a comfortable amount, so I don't get like too wound up.
Yeah, I no, I hear you. Everybody has some reaction to caffeine. Fortunately, I don't have a gut reaction, but man, I'm chatty as it is. You put enough caffeine in me, and I'm very chatty. Which actually, I guess, might be a fair transition to an experience that we had, not this year's RAGBRAI, but for the 50-year RAGBRAI in 2023. We ended up riding together at least 1 or 2 days, didn't we?
Definitely, at least for most of one day.
Yeah. And and I know I must have had some sort of caffeine or whatever because I seem to decided to have made it my mission to hook you up with someone on the route at RAGBRAI, and I tried to play Have You Met Camden? If you've ever seen, How I Met Your Mother, there's a character that would play this game where he says, "Have you met Ted?" and he tries to introduce people to other people. Yeah. So maybe just starting off, do I need to apologize for that, or was that a good thing?
No, I thought it was really fun. It like I'm super introverted, believe it or not. It can be hard for me to like go up and talk to new people. So like this was a good exercise in having to make conversation, having to like try to get to know somebody. And kind of like on RAGBRAI, everyone's just kind of so mellow and everything is so low stakes because if it doesn't go well, just drop to the back of the pack for a minute and you will never see this person again. Uh, it was like fun just to. I mean, even though like I didn't get a date out of this, it was super cool to talk to people about where they're from, why they like to ride, like how do they like Iowa, since so many people were not from Iowa this year.
Yeah.
It was kind of it was just a fun way to like get more of the experience out of RAGBRAI.
Because I think the girl, at least one of the girls I tried to set you up with or introduce you to, was from New York. Did that go anywhere interesting? Obviously, it didn't turn into a date, as you mentioned, but was it better than you expected?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to talk to somebody who rides in a big city and is used to commuting by bike. What was her name? KB. She just was a fun person, and it's just a fun person to have a conversation with for a little bit. And like, this is someone who has not been to Iowa. What do you think of our endless cornfields and soybean fields and every small town that you pass through? Like, what is this experience like for you as someone who's never been here? It was cool to kind of hear that perspective.
Oh, good. Well, and also, this is probably a fair warning for everybody else that if you ever end up on a RAGBRAI ride with me, I might do something crazy just because you put in, I don't drink, but man, put enough caffeine in me, and apparently I make interesting choices, like you were saying. But you're part of another group as well, aren't you? You're on the Ames Velo club.
Yep. I started riding with them kind of when I was in school. They're if you're in Ames or the Ames area, like they're just a nice, relaxed group of people who, they'll go for a social ride on Friday, or they'll plan like a big gravel Saturday. It's a good way to like connect with people who also like to ride in kind of a nice low stakes environment. There's a handful of dudes who like still go out and race. We did a gents race. If anyone is familiar, we had a team for that. It was a good time just to go out and ride as a big group of people that you know.
You said there's a Friday group ride, or are there any other like regularly organized ride, or is it kind of just depends?
It really depends. If you're interested in joining the group, they have like a Facebook that's closed. If you want to request, you can join. They do like a Friday social ride. The club like originally started to connect people in Ames so people don't have to ride by themselves. It can be, right, this is a dangerous sport. Sometimes things go wrong. It's helpful to know that you have people that you can connect with and go out and ride with who are willing to like take care of each other, look out for each other. And it like brings a nice sense of community to the riding community in Ames.
Nice. And it's easy to find. You just amesvelo.com and you can find those cool orange jerseys and more about them. And looks like you got a busy calendar of events going on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday throughout the month. It's always nice to find a nice active group that's doing things. Well, cool. Well, then that might actually be a good kind of segue into your training. You mentioned you have a coach. Tell us a little bit about kind of what your goals are and what you've been doing lately to prepare for events, and also like what has been your A race like this year?
Yeah, so I can start with my A race. My A race the past 3 years has been Unbound Gravel, the 200 miler, the famous one, the headliner. I did it in 2022 for the first time and was like way underprepared. I had no idea what I was getting into. I finished my first year, which was super fun and exciting. I think when I finished the race, my dad said, "Hey, are you going to do this again?" I said, "Absolutely not. I'm never coming back here." And a week later, I decided, "Oh, I'm going to sign up next year, and this is what I'm going to do different." So kind of a big part of preparing for that race was finding a one-to-one coach, someone who can like really help me find my own goals, help me like build around my own schedule. So I tracked one down through Base Camp Endurance. I work with Nathan Goetz. He's a super knowledgeable guy, and he's been a huge part of like me developing and growing as a cyclist. So if people want to go out and get more competitive, finding a good coach makes a world of difference.
So what was your first Do you remember what your time was that first year in 2022?
Yeah, 16 and a half hours.
Okay. And then you came back with a coach in 2023. How did that go?
Uh, that was, if you want to go and look at the pictures from 2023, it was a pretty infamous year. I ended up DNFing at about mile 124.
Man.
It was like, I don't even know how I got that far. I think I started hitting a wall at about mile 100 and just kept pushing through to get to the water spot. I was like, if I get there, everything will be fine. And that's not how that works. So I had to kind of call my race there. Went home super disappointed, but I mean, just in the car ride back to the campsite after pulling out, it was all right. Next year, things are going to be different. Then this last year for 2024, I managed to finish in 12 hours and 46 minutes.
Woo, that's yeah, cutting off a good three hours plus off your time.
Yeah, it was flying for most of the race.
What I mean, did you find a good group? What kind of what were some things where you're like, yeah, these were the things that I definitely did, and then there's always those external factors that you're like, well, and these things definitely helped out. Yeah, what were the things you did, and what were some of the external factors?
Yeah, big thing is food. I kind of talked about the 100 grams of carbs an hour. For a race that long, you have to eat the entire time. You are never not eating or drinking water or taking on electrolytes. You are just in a constant cycle of refueling yourself, which can be hard to do and takes practice. If it's an event you want to do, you need to start practicing eating like in December to get comfortable with that. As far as like a true like race, I did not really get too much in the race. I was only focused on finishing before the sun, which is a 14-hour finish. So I wrote down the average pace I had to maintain in order to pull that off, and put it on a sticker on the back of my front light. And I made sure that I had the average pace on my Garmin be higher than that number the whole time. I don't care if I'm in front of somebody, behind somebody, in a group, whatever it is, that has to stay higher the whole time and I'll be fine. And just kind of the nature of a race like that with, 1,000 people in a start line, you work in with different groups. I think the cool thing I did is most of the time I ended up working with this woman, Ortha, who came over from Germany for this race. I think we rode together for probably close to 90 miles, just kind of taking turns, taking pulls, just someone to chat with the whole time, just because it can get kind of lonely out there by yourself for that long. Sometimes it kind of just helps like get you back to reality and not be so much in your own head. That kind of helps. Another big thing too, have a snack that like makes you excited. I keep a sleeve of Oreos and some Sour Patch Kids like on deck, ready to go at all times. You ever start feeling a little bit like, I can't do this, I don't know if I'm cut out for this anymore? You just eat some of those and you are fine. You are back in it right away. And just always keep yourself in mind of like, all right, I just need to keep pushing a little bit further. It's only 10 feet at a time. You have to take the next 10 feet before you can worry about the next 200 miles.
Yeah. And I mean, Unbound, I haven't raced Unbound. But from what I understand, it's not a big, there are some hills and things like that, but the big challenge is the distance and the terrain. I mean, for this 2024 year, it wasn't nearly as rainy as the 2023 year. But maybe talk a little bit about like what gear you found has worked better for you on that, that Kansas slate Flint Hills rock material that they call road.
What they call it.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone who looks at Unbound, it's all about tire choice. Everyone's got an opinion on tire choice and what you should run, and tubeless versus tubes versus running a run flat insert. Whatever tire decision you make for your first year, it's probably wrong. My first year, I spent, I don't know, probably close to an hour and a half just fixing flats. I think I had like upwards of 20 punctures between my front and rear when I took them off at the end of the race and just looked through to see how bad they were. This course will destroy whatever tires you pick. That said, I swear by the IRC Boken double cross. I like the 38 size. It comes in a 42 if that's more for you. I have had no flats. I still have the same set on my bike that I ran at Unbound. They run fine. They're super tough. They grab just about everything. I don't know what magic they put in them, but they're pretty solid tires. My only complaint is they kind of start to dry rot a little bit earlier than more like different tires. I don't know if it's just what their compound is, but if you're riding gravel, they wear out fast enough that it really doesn't matter.
Even with, I'm guessing you're running tubeless. Even with sealant in them, they're kind of cracking.
Yeah, I noticed it like, I don't know, probably about like a 4 to 6 month window after putting the tires on. You kind of start seeing like cracks in the tread and stuff. Not enough that like it would concern me, but I mean, I replace my tires at least twice a year anyway, so it's not a huge deal. Just something that I've noticed.
Interesting. Yeah, I've usually been on either Pan Racers or Gravel Kings or WTB. Riddlers is what I ride mostly right now, and the issue I have with those is they seep sealant like constantly. They just want to weep sealant for the first month or so until they kind of like get filled up. Maybe it's the tan sidewalls because I like the fancy look, but it is interesting how much tires make a difference in so many ways, and it's something that I think just about anyone you can find some way to make some marginal gains by just changing out your tires, and so it's worth experimenting at times on different styles. What was the tire you mentioned again, just in case people didn't catch it?
The IRC Boken Double Cross.
See, Boken Double Cross.
If you go to irctire.com, it'll have official tire of Unbound above it, and they'll be hyping this tire up because they push it super hard for this race for that reason.
Oh, sweet. Fun. Okay, so we've gone through Albia, we've gone through Unbound, we've gone through Ames Velo, we've gone through RAGBRAI a little bit. Now, I mentioned this question when we were chatting at the beginning, and you mentioned this could be a hard one, so we might have to take a couple stabs at this, I guess. This question is the if you had a magic wand, what would you change about gravel sort of thing? And the reason I like this question is because really I'm trying to get to the heart of like, what is it that people value, but also what is it that people struggle with? Because there's no perfect sport or whatever. There's always something that you're like, oh man, I wish this was easier or more available. So I sprung this on you a little bit earlier. I don't know if you've had a chance to think about it, but like, if you had a magic wand, what would you change about the cycling world?
Yeah, so like this is something I think the more I thought about this question, like I wish like more amateur women would participate in cycling events.
Is this because you need more dates? Is that your motivation?
See, everyone says that whenever I bring this up, but no, I think it's great. Like most of my Unbound experience was with racing with a woman who is super strong and having a great time. I think it's really cool when there's more parity in a sport. It brings more people out to do it. I mean, it's a sport that I love, and I want to see other people also come out and enjoy it. And I feel like sometimes, especially in like the racing world, they can get like a little dude bro-y. So I think it's good when we can bring people out here and this can be a fun and exciting thing and not an ego thing. And I just want to see like, more women come out and participate. Like they can also come out and do these hard events and these super tough things. And I want to see more participation from people. Things like the Superbloom are going to do great things to bring more people out so they can feel comfortable and also enjoy the sport that I love.
So speaking of which, because you signed up for the whole series, you got a voucher for the Glenwood Superbloom, which is a women's only gravel race. Did you end up being able to pass that along to someone, or is it still
so hard to find somebody? Kind of when I signed up last year, I was seeing this girl. I was like, oh, you should try riding. You should try racing. Here's a free entry, and she was not having it. I mean, everyone I know, I'm trying to find someone who will go and participate in this race. On my behalf, since I have the entry for it.
Well, I think I was just looking at it today. I think there's still 12 or 13 slots still open. And so if you're hearing this and you're the only thing that's holding you back from signing up for the Superbloom is that you're just like, oh, I don't know if you could do the registration. Camden's got your back. We'll put you in contact. Reach out. I'm easy to find. I will connect you with Camden, and this will be. I promise not to like turn this into a have you met Camden sort of thing. It's purely goodwill. No strings attached. It sounds like on this registration for Superbloom, but Camden has a registration that needs to be used. Frankly, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Have you considered coming out and volunteering for the race for Superbloom?
Yeah, I'm looking at my schedule to see kind of what I'll be up to and whatever I'm at, and I would love to come out and like just lend a hand to a race like this.
Yeah, I think we have more volunteers signed up for Superbloom than any other race that we've ever put on, which I think is fantastic. And really, it's not me putting it on; it's Julie Borer from Prairie Bloom and the whole Prairie Bloom team that's putting this on. I basically just donated the date and kind of the course and of sorts, and we're gonna help them out with timing and things. But beyond that, it's all the Prairie Bloom leadership and team. They're fantastic. Well, Camden, what have we not hit on? What's the question that you think people should really know about Camden? This is an unfair question, let's be honest. But what's the one thing that you think people should know about Camden Jackson that they don't get at first blush?
Oh man, that's a fun question. Shoot, I suppose I haven't had to think about that one. I think I got a joke at work the one time that someone was like, Cameron, the only thing people associate you with is riding your bike. I'm like, yeah, that is about it. Like that is so much of who I am. So
do we need to get you a new hobby just to get you out of your comfort zone?
I'm branching out a little bit. I've started disc golfing. That's been a fun new adventure. I'm horrible at it. I did get to go to a golf outing for work. I'm not very good at like regular golf either. But like all things that I can grow and do. I guess one of the things like I'm looking forward to next is bike packing. I have a cool trip planned for next week.
Where are you going?
Wisconsin. I'm gonna start in Cable, and I have a loop that goes over to Michigan, kind of up to the peninsula and then back down. If you want to go find the route that I kind of stole and made my own, it's the Wisconsin Waterfalls Loop on bikepacking.com. I'm really looking forward to having just like a nice week to myself to kick back and relax and go and see waterfalls.
Oh wow, that sounds fantastic. I for Christmas I got one of the Big Agnes bike specific tents, and so I've been really itching to go out on a trip on my own. What gear are you packing on your bike packing trip?
Yeah, I have just like the REI. I don't know. It comes in like the backpacker special. It's a simple 2-person tent, a sleeping bag. I got rid of the sleeping mat because I hated it. I have a Helinox ultralight cot. If you are someone who camps a lot and hates the air mattress, I highly recommend this cot. It has changed how I go camping, makes it a much better experience in my opinion. And it's not that much more expensive than an air mat. I mean, those are kind of my big things. I bring a chair. I like to glamp a little bit on my bike trip. I don't really care about the extra weight. I'll go a half a mile per hour slower if I can have a nice place to sit down when I get to camp. I have a very simple, everything I eat is pretty much just boil and heat and eat. I don't take anything, ultra exotic as far as food goes. I just like kind of having that all day to just kind of do something I really enjoy and then relax and enjoy being out in nature all night. Just a good way to kind of unplug and get away from the day-to-day that I face down here in Des Moines.
Are you packing all of your food, or do you know there are places along the route where you are gonna? I like to credit card camp personally. Like if I don't have to carry my food, I am super happy with that. I'll carry my bag, my tent, those sorts of things. But if I don't have to carry, I feel like food just weighs so much. But
yeah,
are you pretty much supplying all your own food on it?
Yep, I have enough food to make it the whole week. I think. I don't know. We'll find out. There are grocery stores or restaurants or things available if it comes down to me not wanting to cook or eat ramen noodles and instant mashed potatoes. I can go and find food if I want to. It is on the route. I think the fun of it comes from like having to rough it a little bit and really dig into I'm out in the wilderness spirit, and I have to have everything with me and be self-sufficient because I live such a comfortable life otherwise.
Yeah. But I hear you though. I mean, if you can, fancy up the ramen a little bit with like an egg or some carrots, celery, something like that, that's fresh and everything, sure makes for a better camping experience. At least in my book. I don't know if maybe you're anti-egg or carrot, but
whatever it takes to like make you want to eat at the end of a long day.
Exactly. Well, Camden, this has been so much fun to chat with you. I miss our ride from RAGBRAI, so I'm glad we had this chance to catch up a little bit, and I hope we get to do it again here soon. Are you planning on being at Fairfield?
I am planning on being at Fairfield. I've got it on my calendar.
Are you planning on doing the 100-mile or the 100K?
Ooh, I think right now I'm currently the 100K. But I think the 100-mile would be a fun new challenge.
Well, I will tell you, I'm something I just looked at and noticed that we've got kind of a small field for the 100-mile, and that's the one that has the purse.
Yeah, it might be a little upgrade to a bigger distance.
Yeah, so let me know. I might have to figure out how to get more of our podium folks on the 100-mile here and push that, because I think we could end up with a really good race and a good option for winning some cash, which I think is one of my favorite things to win. Winning is nice, but winning cash is even better.
It always helps.
Well, cool. All right. Well, then I will hopefully see you at Fairfield, and I hope you have a fantastic evening. Thank you so much for chatting with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Chris.
All right. See you soon.